Stand up right now and put your full weight on one leg. Did you wobble? Most people over 60 do, and almost none of them know why. It's not your knees. It's not even your balance. Not really. There's a muscle buried deep in your hip that most doctors never mention, and by the time you notice it's gone, you've already fallen once. Today I'm going to show you exactly which muscle that is and why it quietly shuts off after 60. Then I'll give you the 90-second fix that can bring it back before it costs you a hip. I'll also give you a 30-second test you can do right where you're sitting. It tells you almost instantly whether this is already happening to you. Stay with me until the end, because the exercise itself takes less time than brewing a cup of coffee. Everyone obsesses over quads and hamstrings, front of the leg, back of the leg. Nobody trains the side. But sideways stability is what keeps you upright when you step off a curb wrong. It's also what saves you when the dog cuts in front of you on a walk. The muscle responsible for that sideways catch is called the gluteus medius, tucked along the outer hip. Most seniors have never once done an exercise for it. Physical therapists have a nickname for it. They call it the invisible muscle, because you never feel it working until the day it fails to. When it's strong, you don't notice it at all. When it's weak, every uneven sidewalk becomes a gamble. Here's the part that surprises people. This muscle isn't just about walking. It stabilizes your pelvis every single time one foot leaves the ground, which happens thousands of times a day. Climbing stairs, getting out of a car, turning to grab something off a shelf. All of it depends on this one hip muscle holding your pelvis level. And when it can't, your body starts compensating in ways you'd never guess were connected to your hip at all. Lower back pain that came out of nowhere. A hip that clicks when you stand. Even that strange, tired feeling in your knees by the end of the day. Stick around, because in a moment I'll show you the exact test that reveals if yours has already gone quiet. It takes 30 seconds, needs zero equipment, and most people are shocked at what it tells them. Muscle loss after 50 isn't rare, it's basically guaranteed if you don't fight it. Researchers call it sarcopenia, and it doesn't hit every muscle equally. The muscles you use the least go first, and for most people that's the hip abductors. Think about your normal day for a second. You sit in a car seat, you sit at a table, you sit on a couch, and the hip abductors barely fire the entire time. They were built for walking on uneven ground, stepping sideways, catching yourself, movements your ancestors did constantly, and you probably do almost never. Modern life is flat, padded, and predictable, and that predictability is exactly what makes this muscle disappear. Without lateral movement, without stepping sideways or catching your balance on purpose, the nerve pathways to that muscle actually start to fade. This is called neuromuscular disuse. And here's the part that should worry you. It happens quietly. There's no soreness. There's no obvious sign. You simply lose the ability to stabilize sideways. You don't find out until your foot lands wrong on a curb and there's nothing there to catch you. Doctors will tell you to watch your bone density and your blood pressure, and they're right too. But almost none of them will mention this specific muscle. And that gap in awareness is exactly why falls linked to it keep happening. The good news is that unlike bone density, this one responds fast. In the next section, I'll walk you through the simplest possible way to check it yourself, right now, without any equipment. It won't cost you a dime, and it takes less time than reading this sentence out loud twice. Here's how you find out if your invisible muscle has already gone quiet. Stand near a countertop, not holding it yet, just close enough to catch yourself. Lift one foot a few inches off the floor and count how long you can hold it steady. If you're under 10 seconds, or if your hip actually sways side to side while you balance, that's your gluteus medius telling you it's underpowered. This isn't a pass or fail test to feel bad about. Think of it as a smoke detector going off before there's actually a fire in the house. A lot of people notice something odd once they pay attention. Your hip doesn't just wobble forward and back, it drifts sideways. Almost like your body is looking for support that used to be there automatically. That sideways drift is the entire story. It's the difference between a stumble you catch and a stumble that becomes a hospital visit. And here's something most people don't realize. This same weakness shows up in smaller ways you've probably brushed off for years. Favoring one side when you stand from a chair, a slight limp that shows up only when you're tired, even lower back tightness that never fully goes away no matter how much you stretch it. None of those are random. They're your body quietly routing around a muscle that stopped doing its job. Once you can name what's actually happening, fixing it stops feeling complicated. And that's exactly where we're headed next. This next part is the entire reason I made this video, so give it your full attention. You'll need a sturdy counter or the back of a heavy chair, nothing else. Stand tall, feet hip width apart, one hand resting on the counter for balance. not gripping it. Slowly lift your right leg straight out to the side, just a few inches, keeping your toes pointed forward the whole time. Hold that lifted position for 2 full seconds before lowering it back down with control. Do that 10 times on the right leg, then switch and do 10 on the left. That's round 1, and it should take you about 45 seconds total. For round 2, you're going to add a small marching motion. Lift your knee up in front of you, then swing it out to the side before setting your foot back down. This tiny outward swing is what actually forces the gluteus medius to fire, far more than a straight march ever will. 10 reps per side again, and you're done in under 2 minutes total. Here's what makes this different from the balance videos you probably already tried. Most of them train your ankle and your core, which matters, but they skip the actual muscle responsible for sideways stability. This sequence goes straight at it. Do this every single day, ideally right after you brush your teeth, so you never forget it. Give it 2 weeks before you judge the results. Most people notice the sideways wobble easing up within the first week, especially on uneven ground like grass or gravel. Knowing an exercise and actually doing it are 2 completely different things, and I want to be honest with you about that gap. The people who see real change aren't the ones who do this once and feel motivated. They're the ones who chain it to something they already do without thinking. Brushing your teeth works well because it happens twice a day without fail. Waiting for the coffee maker works too, since that's already dead time you're standing around anyway. Pick one anchor point and stick to only that one, because trying to remember 3 different moments is exactly how people quit within a week. If balance still feels shaky after the first few days, that's completely normal and not a sign you're doing it wrong. Keep both hands on the counter for now and remove one hand only once you feel steady. There is no rush here, and there is no prize for skipping ahead. This muscle took years to go quiet, so give it real weeks, not days, to properly wake back up. Progress here isn't dramatic, and it isn't fast, but it is steady. And steady is exactly what keeps you upright on the sidewalk you weren't even thinking about. Before you go do this, let's talk about the 3 ways people accidentally sabotage it. Mistake 1 is grabbing a resistance band on day 1 because it feels more serious. Bands are great later, but adding resistance before your form is solid just teaches your body to cheat. It shifts the work to the hip flexor instead of the muscle you're actually targeting. Mistake 2 is holding your breath through the lift, which sounds minor, but it spikes your blood pressure and tires you out for no reason. Breathe normally, out on the lift, in on the way down, the same way you would with any strength move. Mistake 3 is the big one, and it's skipping days the moment you feel a little steadier. That early improvement is real, but it's fragile, and the muscle can go quiet again in under 2 weeks if you stop reinforcing it. Think of this less like a cure you complete and more like brushing your teeth, something that only works because you never actually stop. One more thing worth mentioning, because I get asked this constantly. If you feel sharp pain in the joint itself, not muscle fatigue but actual joint pain, stop. Check with your doctor before continuing. That's a different issue entirely, and this exercise isn't meant to push through it. Mild burning in the outer hip after the second round is completely normal. It's actually a good sign that the right muscle is finally waking up. So here's what we covered today. There's a hip muscle almost nobody trains, and it quietly shuts off from years of sitting. A 30-second test can tell you exactly where you stand right now. The fix takes less time than waiting for your kettle to boil, and it targets the actual cause instead of just generally toning your legs. If you tried the balance test, tell me your time in the comments. I genuinely want to know how many of you are under that 10-second mark. This is actually the first video in a short series I'm building on the invisible muscles seniors lose first. These are the ones that never show up on a scan and never get mentioned at a checkup. If today helped even a little, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. The next muscle we're covering is even more overlooked than this one. A lot of you have asked whether this replaces physical therapy, and it doesn't. It simply gives you a daily habit that most therapy programs quietly assume you're already doing on your own. 2 minutes a day, 1 counter, and a little consistency is genuinely all this takes. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.